They told me, son, you're special. You were born to do great things. You know what? They were right.
Hello and welcome to what will be the first of a series of videos I plan to make called Certified Dank, where I, the Spicy Ginge, evaluate whether games are indeed dank. Today, we will begin with a game that I hold near and dear to me, as it was one of the first that I truly felt engrossed in the world, story, game mechanics, and characters. Now, I realize I'm a bit late to the Bioshock Bukkake party, but nonetheless, I want in. This bad boy right here fits a tight storyline that presents the player with some perceived player agency. You can choose to save the little sisters, or absorb their juicy little life forces. You can help Atlas save his wife and daughter, blah blah blah, you know the shtick. Opening up the trunk of the Bioshock mobile, it's packed full with level designs that will have you fully bricked up. Everything from killer bees to ominous voices through a steel door in the fishery, and of course, the Spookfest scavenger hunt in Fort Frolic. It's got just about everything that you could want from an Atlantis horror fanfic. But truly, for a game to be certified as well as dank, it has to stand the test of time. In my opinion, Bioshock is a prime example of a game that knew what its vision was and geared each piece of the game so it complements the others. This is a big claim, however. So, I'm inviting you to come with me on a descent into Rapture. On this journey, expect to enjoy dismembering splicers, boogieing with a maniac in a morgue, and, if you'd kindly shut the bathysphere door, we can get right along to being manipulated by a seemingly omniscient Irishman. Alright, so, in an attempt to not get sucked into giving you a full synopsis of the storyline, I'm gonna direct you to one of these other very well made Bioshock videos that'll do a better job than I could covering all of the details. For the lazy fucks that have neither played the game, nor are willing to watch someone else explain it, I'll lay it down fast and quick, since that's the only way I know how to. Anyways, Bioshock is a game that was produced by Irrational Games, and published by 2K when 2K still gave a rat's ass about publishing quality games, with a very handsome chap named Ken Levine as the writer and spokesman for the game. He had a talented team behind him, with a special mention going to Scott Sinclair, who is the lead art designer and the man who really breathed life into the dystopian, steampunk-inspired world that Ken cooked up. I can't stress enough how the vision and passion that each of these team members brought impacted the congruity and quality of the final product. Now that you've got an understanding of the team behind the masterpiece, let's get after it and crush out this speedy synopsis. So, the character we play is this dashing gentleman named Jack, who, unfortunately, bought a flight ticket whose final destination was, let me check my notes, the middle of the fucking Atlantic. The poor bastard. Boom. The plane crashes, and after swimming through the wreckage, we come upon a looming obelisk tower jutting out from the water. After enjoying the sight of an unreasonably large bronze statue of some balding bastard, we take this fun little pod down to Rapture, and proceed to watch a man get absolutely shredded by a splicer, before being informed that some Irish wankstain talking through the radio is our self-proclaimed ally, and, supposedly, our only hope of survival. Turns out, this particular wankstain's name is Atlas, and he acts as our guide through the darkness of Rapture, tugging on the player's heartstrings with a story about losing his wife and daughter to Andrew Ryan, and trying to inspire with his aspirations to expose and overthrow the powers of Rapture. In order to aid him, he sends us on a wild goose chase where the player acquires plasmids.
Oh yeah, that's the stuff.
New guns, collect interesting tapes, and not so interesting photos, depending on who you ask. All with the end goal of getting us to Andrew Ryan. I've skipped a lot of plots, but we're keeping this short and sweet, remember? When we finally confront Ryan, he reveals our true origin and informs us that we are in fact, drumroll please, his illegitimate son. Not only that, but that Jack was conditioned to obey certain commands, and our old buddy, old pal, the old chap, the Irish wanker that got us here, was manipulating Jack using the phrase, "would you kindly?" Jack then proceeds to viciously beat Ryan with a golf club, and to be fair, it's a reasonable response in my opinion, before setting his sights on Atlas. We then discover Atlas is simply an alias for Ryan's main foe, and quite the cocksucker himself, Fontaine. Before we get sweet revenge, however, Dr. Tenenbaum saves us from a horde of security drones, as well as removes the mental conditioning from Jack so he's free as a bird. With that out of the way, Jack proceeds to face the Chief Wankstein Fontaine, who decides to get juiced up on Adam, as, before he could do the old gentleman standoff with some amnesiac bastard from a crashed plane, he can't lose to Jack, right? He's juiced, he's blue, he can't be stopped.
Oh my god, he on X Games mode.
Fontaine proceeds to get thoroughly whomped by Jack and the Little Sisters, who subsequently zuck that sweet, sweet Adam juice from Fontaine's corpse. The ending following this varies depending on player choices, but that's the gist of it. Alright, I glazed over a lot of things, but I'll cover more as I explain my unhealthy adoration of the fruit of Irrational's loins that is Bioshock. It all sounds a bit confusing, and that's because it is. Part of what makes Bioshock so appealing for both first-time fans, as well as returning players, is that the intricacy of the journey from arriving in Rapture to facing Andrew Ryan adds plenty of replayability that is made so much more satisfying due to the attention to detail everywhere throughout the game. Now that we all have a basic understanding of the story, I can move on to feverishly explaining how the gameplay, characters, environmental design, and overall game mechanics further the player's submersion in Rapture. So, the levels. What's so good about them? I believe this question can be answered by looking no further than the second mission. After getting some basic weapons and being denied an easy route to the medical wing, Jack has to meander through the halls, lobbies, and secret rooms of Rapture, exploring dentist's office, surgery units, and of course, a morgue whose owner is a pyromaniac psychopath. Setting out into the surgical wing, we are introduced to Dr. Steinman via the tape recordings and listen to his descent into Adam-influenced and Ryan-directed immoral acts, which he believed to be all for the greater good of eliminating ugliness in the world. What a nice guy. With unhinged narration in the background, we make our way through the death trap that is the lobby, with words scrawled in blood all over the walls and floors, turrets firing from all directions, and signs of many bloody encounters everywhere. Entering the medical pavilion, the real style and art of the level can be seen in the various themed side dungeons and offices. Take the Eternal Fire Crematorium, for example. The burning torch leading to the entrance is not only pretty baller, but very fitting for the subsequent explosion wrecking the entry following, and with a splicer running out. The crematorium itself has oil-slicked water all over, which is extra spicy, seeing as this guy has a fetish for explosives. After doing the crematorium boogie, the irrational devs serve us a delicious dessert that can be acquired by sacrificing this corpse to raw in an incinerator. And with this discovery of our first physical tonic, Irrational Games epitomizes satisfying progression done in a way that is integrated into the level itself. They could have just left the plasmid on the table, but instead, expected that the player would explore and thus be rewarded. But this is a diversion from the more important plasmid in the area, this being the fire plasmid in the office, which can be easily missed if you're a stupid monkey like me. But after lapping back and getting that sweet, sweet fuego in my veins, I set out to melt my way through some weird ice formations. I remember the satisfaction of blasting my way into Dandy Dental on my first playthrough. Newsflash, still just as satisfying. The fire plasmid by itself as a damage-dealing ability is great, much like the telekinetic ability, but both serve a larger importance in terms of interacting with the environment. In terms of player influence over the sandbox, Bioshock does a great job of including interactable objects that can be used to aid the player in whichever way they intend. Alright, after that little tangent about the sandbox and level interactivity, I might as well address that gameplay because goddamn, this boy is thick. While I understand the grievances with the stock circular reticle when firing from third person, like yuck, what the fuck is that? I don't think it ruins the gunplay by any means. The recoil of each weapon is satisfying, with my personal favorites being the shotgun and MG. Adding to the overall freedom of choice in gameplay are the varieties of ammo each weapon can use, including the usual anti-personnel and armor-piercing rounds, but adding some creativity with incendiary and shock ammo. And just to tie in another game mechanic nicely, the looting of various supplies around Rapture can be used to craft ammo and weapons at these wonderful crafting stations. This will come in handy, as poverty isn't uncommon for a Rapture resident like Jack, so having the ability to acquire more outside of the vending machines is very nice. And of course, I can't forget the power to the people stations, which allow you to select a permanent upgrade/perk for one weapon, which adds further specificity if desired for certain builds and playtypes. All of these pieces fit together to encourage player agency in terms of how they interact with the sandbox, meaning for most players that no two playthroughs are the same. Now, for my fellow Cro-Magnon monkey men that could give a rat's ass about whether you can craft unique ammo types, and their main concern is the gameplay fun? You can rest easy, because Bioshock is a great time. Picture this, you had a bad day at the office and boot up your PC to de-stress. Instead of directly going to the hub, you make a cathartic stop in Rapture, to promptly dismember splicers by a variety of means. You can feel your frustration at Johnny from PR slowly releasing shotgun blast by shotgun blast. Do you feel like dancing with a Big Daddy and channeling your inner John Wick? My brother in Christ, you've come to the right place. Using a combo of plasmids, emptying MG clips, and a colorful concoction of cussing, along with a whole lot of jumping and dodging, you too can come toe-to-toe with a foe that'll hand you an ass-kicking if you're not careful. The entire mythos of the Big Daddies has them rightfully feared by most of the inhabitants of Rapture. But not Jack. No, we're shooting up with the disco goop and we're getting after it, with the prize being the choice between absorbing the little sister's life force, which is so tasty, or a slight dopamine boost and occasional gift from Tenenbaum for saving them. I personally am a fan of the former because, what have they ever done for me? After brutalizing a Big Daddy or two, there's always fun to be had manipulating the objects in the world. This ranges from using telekinesis to yeet garbage cans at your foes, to exhaling unrealistically large gusts of air from your lungs like some sort of shitty airbender, propelling everything and everyone away from you. The introduction to the telekinesis plasmid with the tennis balls is both simple and amusing, and soon after is put to use manipulating explosives through the air. And as I touched on earlier, the exploration gained with plasmids like the fireball are a great integration of the plasmids in the level design, but they're also just a lot of fun to use. Don't believe me? See for yourself. In all, even if you are illiterate and have zero appreciation for the great story being told, you can still have fun with all the tools that you have at your disposal. Something I mentioned at the beginning that I've waited to touch on are the characters. While our protagonist Jack isn't exactly a riveting personality, the characters you meet throughout the game are unique individuals with their own motivations and demons to face. The two most influential characters on Rapture itself are Andrew Ryan and Atlas the Irish Twat, aka Fontaine. Andrew makes for a compelling villain, seemingly massacring anyone in his way, all in the name of building a utopia on the ocean floor. His general disregard for others' lives and condescending manner he talks to Jack throughout the game, Ryan just kind of rubs you the wrong way. You know, he's sort of like that rich prick that buys a BMW in grade 10 as his first vehicle, rubs it in everybody's face, just for it to come out that he didn't pay a penny on the purchase. We all know the type, and in this case, not only did he not buy the BMW, he also oversaw the production of ability gifting goop that transformed his population into hook-handed coke fiends. So, yeah, he's kind of a certified twat. As for Atlas, he operates under the guise of a revolutionary that simply wants to save his family and overthrow the powers that be in Rapture. And you know, he isn't a total dick for most of the game, although I find his would you kindly more irritating every time he does it. However, the game provides a masterclass in subverting expectations, not only revealing that Atlas was manipulating Jack through a secret code the whole time, but that he was lying about his identity the whole time too, and in the end, we find out he could give two shits about Jack, which is not cool, bro. What have we learned so far from these two, you might be wondering? Like you're some kind of little twat in grade 4 trying to decipher whether Flat Stanley could in fact be flat. Like where are his organs? Somebody come help this dude. Both Atlas and Ryan manipulate others without remorse in an attempt to maintain and further their own power, regardless of appearances. But what about the other characters? In order to have a world that feels really alive, there's got to be more than two interesting dudes in this. I say, simmer down there, bud. I'm getting there. My personal favorite character in the game is Sander Cohen. This dude's a fucking mad lad. Whether or not you enjoy the whole photo-taking mechanic, the character building that is done through this arc of collecting Cohen's photos is phenomenal. He has an unhinged desire to create what he describes as the epitome of art, motivated by, and comprised of, people that he says have done him wrong. The theatrics, the slowly building tension that rises with each photo assignment, reaching a crescendo involving Jack being ambushed, only to be congratulated by Cohen and sent on his way to Ryan. What a dude. This man's off his rocker, but I fuck with the vision. Or, my other personal favorite, Peach Wilkins, aka the whack job from the fishery. Peach is a suspicious man, and in order to gain his favor, he asked Jack to, let me check my notes again. Take pictures of spider splicers for him? Shit, man, if that's what he needs to slay the one-eyed dragon, who am I to judge? So, Jack embraces his inner IG photographer and gets right to snapping some beautiful voyeur pics, delivering the goods for Peachy Boy to add to his spank bank, only for this wanker to betray us because he believes Jack to be a spy for Ryan. And in true Jack fashion, we viciously murder him on the spot. Jack's such a helpful guy, right? Anyways, without rambling on for too long, I'll wrap up this section saying that I believe these couple of characters give a quality representation of the care put into characters in the game overall. And this care for characters, gameplay, story, and the rest really cements Bioshock as a classic game. Alright. There's plenty of shit that I missed that makes Bioshock such a rich game experience. The subplots in the recordings, Dr. Tenenbaum, the poison bees.
Not the bees.
All the cool drafted enemies that didn't make the cut, etc, etc. There's a lot of shit. It might require another video. We'll see how I'm feeling about it. Even without the extra, it is clear that Bioshock is a well-made game with close attention to detail and a vision for what experience it wanted to deliver. The game spooks you with ambient sound. I know when I'm down bad, without heals or a dime to my name, the sounds of splicer hooks dragging on concrete in the far-off distance is very eerie. Or the shudder of the ground itself, and the moans coming from a Big Daddy, where you're never sure exactly where it is until you lay your eyes on it. But the mood and ambiance mean piss all without the gameplay and story to back it up. With combat options ranging from spontaneously igniting your foes to shotgun blasting them while sending 4,000 volts through their nervous system, there's a little something here for everybody. And with characters like Ryan, Atlas, Cohen, Tenenbaum, Steinman, the crematorium cunt, that whack job from the fishery, and many more, the world feels alive and has stories to tell if the player chooses to pursue. And that is the beauty of a game like Bioshock: choice. Now, it may not have all the Bethesda-esque choices, but rather, choice in how you interact with the objects and characters in the world. You get to choose whether you're a little sister vampire and suffer the consequences from Tenenbaum. But ultimately, the story's point is that regardless of Jack's choices along the way, he is destined to be manipulated by others for their benefit under the guise of choice. The story and character writing has aged like fine wine, and despite looking somewhat aged, yeah, I won't forget about that rectum of a reticle, Bioshock is a well-crafted game that delivers an enjoyable experience to any players open to experiencing Rapture. As such, not only is it a dank game that'll have your monkey brain firing on all cylinders, but earns its certified title by maintaining a reputation since release of being a beloved game by fans, and a project that oozed with creativity from the devs. Whether or not you like the sequels, the first Bioshock on its own is a masterpiece, and thus earns the title of Certified Dank by me, the spiciest of gingers. That was enough of that. I really enjoyed making this video, despite its tumultuous development. At one point, I kinda considered just trashing it because it seems like everyone and their dog is out here blowing fat loads over Bioshock, and like, who needs another commentary about here? But in the end, this video, and hopefully series, is about my love and appreciation for a piece of art. If you watched this till the end, thank you, and I hope you found some enjoyment out of this little passion project of mine. Anyways, I've got to feed my cats, and it's late. Thank you again, and I'll see you in the next one.